My name is Andrea. I live and work in London, though most of my family live in Brazil. I get on well with my sister when I see her, but that's only once a year. Do you spend much time with your family?
I spend quite a bit of time with my family, obviously less now since I left home and left university. But I go back every other weekend or every, say, 3 weekends. So yeah, I see them quite a bit.
Probably not as much as I could because the kids are busy and I don't have any parents anymore and my husband's family live a fair way away, so probably not as much as we'd like to.
I try to, yeah. I try and spend as much time as possible. I've got 2 sisters. My older sister lives in London. She lives on a houseboat, actually, on the Thames, which is very nice. And my little sister lives in Tenerife with my parents.
I don't know. We're geographically quite spread out.
Yeah, I do. I go to school in Toronto and they live there and I see them on weekends and whenever I can, really.
Do you think you have inherited any family characteristics?
Well, often people say that I sound and look a lot like my dad, which I don't see, but but everybody else does. So I guess I have done.
Yes, I do. A lot of people sometimes say I look like my aunt or my mother, but then there are a couple of my aunts and my cousins that when people see us, they're like, "Are you guys sisters?"
Unfortunately, I think I have, but they're probably not all bad. My family seems to all have fairly good personalities and it's usually fun being around them, so I think I might have inherited some of that.
Oh, absolutely. I get stressed very easily. I guess take things too seriously sometimes, but I really value spending time with my family, and that's probably a big thing that I've inherited.
Physically, yeah, definitely. I think I'm quite slender and quite tall, which is like my mum. But in terms of personality, probably not. No, I don't think so. No.
Yeah, definitely. I think from my mum, I've got the kind of bubbliness and chattiness. She's very much like that, and most of the time I'm like that. But then when I'm in a bad mood, I get the dad side, and that's he's kind of, my mum used to call him a volcano because he kind of just erupts. He's really peaceful most of the time, but then when you really make him angry, he'll erupt, and that's kind of how it is with me.
There's this moment, I think, probably happens to all of us, where there was something our mum or our dad did which we hated, and then we find that we're doing it.
Do you know much about your family history?
Yes, I know quite a lot. A group of eccentrics, really. My family was essentially lived in Scotland and Argentina, different bits of Latin America, so I know quite a lot about it.
We're great writers and historians, so we do a lot of work with, collecting that. We did a lot of work collecting that data of our family's history coming from Barbados and going to Liberia, which is where I'm from originally.
A little bit. One of my aunties did a family tree, and it appears that I'm about, I think, 3rd generation Australian. Originally, we came from County Clare in Ireland, so that's as much as I know.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, actually, because my father and my mother were both Catholic missionaries from Spain, and they met in Zimbabwe while my father was a priest and my mother was a nun. And they fell in love, and they kind of left the church and decided to settle down in Zimbabwe and have kids.
Yeah, I mean, Canada is a country of immigrants, so my family's from Scotland and France.
I remember conversations with my grandparents, them explaining, but I wish I'd written more down because it's amazing how much you forget. And you think, I'm sure it's so vivid, I'm sure I'd remember more, but I wish I did.
Does your family history play a part in your sense of who you are?
Yes, very much so, and part of that is that I was brought up in Latin America, speaking Spanish to my friends and English to my parents. So in a sense I was brought up between 2 cultures, and that at the end is part of who I am.
Well, definitely, because family is a big part of me, and we just try to keep those connections going.
So I guess it's a difficult balance in my head to see how much is me and how much is my family, and knowing about my family history and knowing what I've inherited, which I'm sure there's lots and lots of habits that I must have inherited, but I feel a lot of it's me, but it probably isn't.
No, not really at all. I left home when I was about 16 or 17, so I think my sense of identity has been very much formed by my own belief systems and my own lifestyle, rather than being particularly keyed into anything to do with my parents or my grandparents.
Hi, I'm quite a private person and I don't ask other people for advice about personal things very often. If I do, I ask my brother. He's really good at seeing situations clearly. How about you? Are you the kind of person who asks other people for advice?
I do actually, as a matter of fact, all the time.
Very much so, yes. I think there is a great deal of wisdom with a multitude of counsellors. So yes, very much. Asking my parents, my sisters.
I often ask people for advice when I'm at work and often consult with my friends for different pieces of advice, what I should do, when I should do it, if I should do it at all.
No, I don't think so. Not really. I tend to keep myself to myself, so I don't really need too much advice most of the time. If it's good advice, I'll obviously take it into consideration.
I probably ask people for advice less than my friends, but I like to figure things out for myself.
Very much not so. No, I'm one that likes to do things myself, find out information myself.
I think I would ask more advice on practical or technical things, but otherwise I don't really like people to give me advice on my life, personal, emotional life, unless I have a special problem, but there are always people who tend to give you advice nonetheless.
Well, I suppose anything that's really important, like I might want to have advice about choosing a home or buying something expensive.
If I want to start a new project, make a big change in my life, make a big purchase, or anything that's really a large investment in either time or energy or money, then I like to ask people's advice. But ultimately I always like to have the last word.
What's the best or worst advice you've ever been given?
Best advice I've ever been given was to carry a sketchbook wherever I go. It meant I sort of got opportunities through doing that and met my wife through doing that.
Recently I just ran London Marathon and my colleague was just telling me to run faster. He said just run faster, and so that was a good piece of advice because I did. And I got a good time, so...
I think the best advice I've ever been given was to recapture my love of what I was doing in order to really be able to truly enjoy it and finish it.
I think probably from my parents is that if you get your head down and work hard, good things will come to you.
Never marry again.
I think the best advice I've been given is to be my own master and try and have more faith in myself, and that I can find everything if I look closer, deeper into myself.
Worst piece of advice I've ever been given was that I need to blend in. That came from friends, really both from the States and also in England, this idea that I just needed to fit in like another guy at a party or, that sort of thing.
I don't know, to buy that car, I shouldn't have bought it. No, I don't know. I shouldn't anyway.
Nothing really springs to mind. Maybe it's because I ignore advice when I think it's bad.
That was to set up my own business.
What would be your best advice for living a happy life?
I would encourage you to try and laugh and smile every day.
Not to focus on yourself.
To do something that you really enjoy doing. I think whatever it is, if you enjoy doing it, you will also be successful in it, and you'll have a very nice life.
Just listen to your heart, I guess, like do what you feel in every moment and try to live life accordingly.
Take some time out to think about what's really, really important to you, who's really important to you, and then act on it.
just do whatever feels right for you. Don't live how society might decide, but just do whatever you believe in.
I think for living a happy life, I think you have to find someone else who is very much your soulmate, somebody that you can share the good times and the bad times with, because it all comes together. But if you've got somebody else to do that with, that'll keep you happy in life.
Hi, I love traveling around my home country of Brazil, and since settling in London, I miss being there. But I found this little cafe near where I live, where lots of Brazilians go at the weekend, so I spend lots of time there. Today I'm going to be talking to people about traveling and their favorite places. Do you have any holidays or trips planned?
I've just been on holiday, so I just came back last week from Singapore, and that was just amazing. It was a really good time over there.
Yeah, in about 6 weeks I should be going to Barbados for a fortnight, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yes, I do. I'm going to Canada this summer. I go to Canada every summer because that's where my family is.
I haven't got any dates planned yet, but we shall probably be off for our usual 3 weeks in Spain. I think probably August.
I'm going to Centre Parks next week with some friends from uni, and then I'm going to Scotland for my cousin's wedding, and I'm going to visit a friend who lives in Spain for a week as well.
In about a month's time I'm going to Kuala Lumpur to visit some uni friends out there who are working, so I'm looking forward to that.
For the time being, not yet. Maybe Scotland in a few months' time.
I haven't got something planned concrete, but I next year intend to travel to China via the Trans-Siberian Railway. I want to start off in St. Petersburg and then I end up in Beijing. I've got some friends who live in Beijing.
I'm here from Australia, so we're on a working holiday at the moment. So, yes, so New York in August, and we're hoping to get to Scotland if the money allows it.
Do you have a favourite place?
I really like to go to places where I've been as a child. So we always went to the North Sea, the part of Germany, Büsum. It's a tiny village, but I spent half my youth there, and it was just amazing summer holidays. So I like to go back there just for the memories.
Well, I was born in Trinidad, and Trinidad and Tobago is tranquility for me, you know.
I don't particularly go to the same place a lot because I quite like to explore, so I prefer to go to all different places.
My favourite place to go on holiday is probably still Corfu, a little place called Ios Stefanos, which we used to go to until my daughter became 8 and started to get bored with the village life, so we had to get somewhere more lively. Now we tend to go to Spain.
I do enjoy going to South Wales at least once a year. I grew up there and I enjoy going back there now, you know, just to see old friends and the old places I used to go.
There are a few favourite places in London that I just visit occasionally, a few parks that I like, such as Hampstead Heath here.
Maybe my nana's house in Melbourne. We live in Ballarat, so it's an hour and a half drive, and ever since we were little girls we've always gone down there and stayed with our grandparents, and there's always happy memories there.
I do have a favourite place in the world, actually. I used to live in Sydney, Australia, and there was a hidden beach down on the south coast that I used to go, and not many people went there. It was very quiet, and I loved going there just for a bit of peace and quiet.
Do you have a regular haunt that you like to visit?
At the moment I'm living in Hackney, so in East London, and there's a really brilliant market. It's called the Broadway Market. It's every Saturday, and it's just amazing. So there's lots of art people, lots of music people. It's really good food. It's a really, really nice place to be on a Saturday and just to relax.
Well, there's a coffee shop called Caffeine that's over in Fitzrovia, closer to Oxford Circus. It's got a really nice atmosphere. It's got great coffee and great food, but it's independently owned, and everyone who works there is really nice. And it always just feels like a really comfortable place to sit around, chat with friends, or even go there and do some work.
There is a nice little Brazilian cafe that I like, basically because they make good coffee, which is important. It's also 2 minutes from where I live.
I suppose my most regular haunt is probably Lord's Cricket Ground, where I spend, according to my wife, far too much time. But I go there when I can.
One of my favourite places to visit in London would be Primrose Hill. I think that's one of the most beautiful spots. London doesn't normally have many places where you can go to get a good view of the city. But I think from there, because it's a hill, it's a little bit away from the city. It's a lovely spot, sitting on the top there. There are a few benches on the top of that hill. And just to go there in the evenings and relax, maybe read a book and take in the view. I would say it's my favourite spot in London.
There's actually a place called Fleet River Bakery. It's quite near my university, and it's one of those places in London you can go and feel like you're not in London because it's quite hidden away and it's not very touristy. So I quite like it because it's kind of oldie-woldy, and it's got a log fire, and you can just get away from it all and meet your friends, and it's nice.